On the distant planet of Zephyra, a world of shimmering skies and floating cities, the alien King Therion ruled with unmatched power. His skin was like polished silver, and his eyes glowed with the intensity of the stars. For centuries, his race had lived among the galaxies proud and strong, masters of both science and war. Yet despite his achievements, Therion faced a problem that troubled him deeply. His daughter, Lyra. Lyra was unlike other Zephyrians. She was small, with delicate limbs and pale blue eyes that reflected the morning sky. While other children trained in martial arts, combat, and leadership from a young age, Lyra struggled with even basic exercises. She stumbled during sword practice, could barely lift the training weights, and her energy often drained quickly. The palace halls, filled with echoes of strength and discipline, seemed to intimidate her at every turn. The king watched his daughter with a mix of disappointment and concern. He had hoped to groom her as a strong leader, someone who could protect Zephyra and carry on their legacy. But Lyra's weakness was undeniable. Advisors whispered in the shadows that perhaps Therion's bloodline was failing. The king, however, had an idea, a daring and unprecedented solution. He called his daughter to his private chamber, a vast room floating above the city with walls that shimmered like liquid crystal. "Lyra," Therion began, his voice calm but firm. "You are different from others, and that is clear to all. But there is a path you may not have considered." Lyra looked up, her small hands fidgeting nervously. "Father, I do not understand. I try. I really do, but I cannot be strong like you want." The king studied her closely. "Strength is not always what you think it is. Muscle alone will not make you a leader. Mind, heart, and courage, these are the true powers of a warrior. I have found someone who can guide you." Lyra tilted her head, unsure. "Someone guide me?" Therion's eyes gleamed. "A human. His name is Adrian Kane. He has trained warriors and led battles across the galaxy. I will entrust you to him." Lyra gasped. "A human? But humans are not like us. They are fragile and strange." Therion shook his head gently. "Humans are underestimated, yet they possess a strength that is different, hidden in ways many cannot see. You will learn from him, Lyra. You will grow, and you will find your own power." The words filled the room like a storm. Lyra's heart raced. The idea of leaving Zephyra, leaving her father's palace and traveling with a human, someone she had never met, was terrifying. Yet beneath her fear, a small spark of curiosity ignited. Perhaps this was her chance to change, to prove herself, not just to her father, but to herself. Preparations began immediately. Lyra's personal belongings were packed, her simple clothes, a few training tools, and a small pendant that glowed softly with protective energy. The palace sent her to the spaceport, a vast field of floating docks where ships of all shapes and sizes traveled between stars. Adrian Kane waited aboard his sleek human starship, the Starfire Hawk, a vessel built for speed and adaptability. Adrian was tall, strong, and confident, with eyes that seemed to understand more than they let on. He had faced countless dangers in his life, space battles, alien predators, cosmic storms, but he had never been assigned a charge like Lyra. When Lyra stepped onto the ship, she felt dwarfed by its vast interior. The walls were filled with blinking consoles, holographic screens, and equipment she had never seen. Adrian approached, offering a friendly smile. "Lyra?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. She nodded nervously. "Yes, I am Lyra." "I'm Adrian Kane. I'll be your guide, trainer, and protector," he said. "I know this is overwhelming, but I promise, we will start small. You'll see that strength comes in many forms." Lyra's fear mingled with hope. I want to be strong, but I don't know how." Adrian knelt to meet her eyes. "That's why we'll start with what you do know. You have intelligence, curiosity, and a heart that doesn't give up. That's a stronger foundation than most warriors have." And so their journey began. The first days were challenging. Adrian introduced Lyra to basic survival training, teaching her how to move in low gravity, how to navigate through unfamiliar environments, and how to handle energy weapons safely. Lyra stumbled often, falling during obstacle exercises and misfiring her weapons. Frustration welled up inside her, and at times she considered giving up. Yet Adrian never lost patience. "Mistakes are lessons, Lyra. Every failure is a step closer to success," he reminded her gently. Slowly, she began to understand the rhythm of the exercises. Her movements became steadier, her aim more precise. She discovered that while her body was fragile, her mind could think faster than any enemy she had yet encountered. One day, while practicing on a remote training planet, disaster struck. A minor meteor shower unexpectedly bombarded the area. Rocks the size of small buildings hurtled down from the sky. Adrian acted immediately, pulling Lyra to cover. "Stay close to me," he shouted. Lyra's heart pounded as she huddled behind a rock. But then, she noticed something strange. She could predict the path of the falling meteors using their shadows and reflections on the ground. Acting instinctively, she guided Adrian to safety through a narrow canyon, saving them both from injury. Adrian looked at her in astonishment. You just saved us, Lyra. That was brilliant." Lyra's cheeks flushed. I didn't know I could do that." "That's your strength," Adrian said, smiling. "It's not in muscles. It's in your mind, your instincts, and your courage." That night aboard the Starfire Hawk, Lyra lay on her bed staring at the stars through the ship's transparent roof. She felt a strange mixture of fear, excitement, and determination. She was no longer the timid princess who stumbled through the palace halls. She was beginning to discover the warrior inside her. As the ship glided through space, Adrian reviewed maps of distant systems and potential training grounds. "Lyra," he said, "we're heading into uncharted regions next. There will be challenges you've never faced, creatures you've never seen, but I believe you can handle it." Lyra nodded, her voice stronger than she expected. I will try. I want to learn. I want to be strong." Adrian smiled. "That's all I ask. One step at a time, Lyra. One step at a time." Days turned into weeks. Lyra's skills grew steadily. She learned to pilot smaller craft, handle alien tools, and even negotiate with minor alien settlements they encountered. Each challenge, whether technical, mental, or physical, shaped her. Her body became stronger, yes, but more importantly, her mind sharpened, and her confidence soared. Yet even as she improved, she could not forget the galaxy she had left behind. Zephyra, the palace, and her father's stern eyes lingered in her thoughts. Would he ever see her as more than a weak child? Would he accept the warrior she was slowly becoming? The first part of their journey was ending, and the first hints of Lyra's true potential were emerging. The fragile princess of Zephyra was no longer helpless. Under Adrian's guidance, she was learning that strength was not just muscle, that courage could grow from fear, and that even the smallest spark could ignite a blazing fire. As the Starfire Hawk disappeared into the endless stars, Lyra looked out into the galaxy with new eyes. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but for the first time in her life she felt ready to face it. The journey ahead would test her in ways she could not imagine, but she had begun to understand the first lesson of being a warrior. Power comes not from what you are, but from what you are willing to become. And so, the timid princess who was given to a human had taken her first steps toward becoming a warrior, a hero, and perhaps one day, someone even her father could admire. The Starfire Hawk glided silently through the endless black of space, stars glittering like scattered diamonds against the void. Lyra sat at a small console, her fingers hovering over controls she had only recently learned to use. Every day brought new challenges, and every challenge forced her to discover strength she never knew she possessed. Adrian watched her with a quiet sense of pride. "You've come far, Lyra. Your reflexes, your thinking, your instincts, they're improving faster than I expected." Lyra smiled shyly. "I'm still not strong like you, Adrian. I stumble, I make mistakes. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing. Adrian shook his head. Strength is not about never failing. Strength is about getting back up, learning from mistakes, and finding ways to succeed even when the odds are against you. You are already stronger than most warriors I've trained. Lyra considered his words carefully. She had begun to understand that strength was not measured only in muscle or speed. Her mind, her choices, and her courage all counted. Their first real test came sooner than expected. While traveling through a dense asteroid field, the ship's sensors detected an unknown energy signature. Lyra leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "What is it?" she asked. "Unknown," Adrian replied, his eyes narrowing. "But it's big and moving fast." Before they could react, a massive space creature emerged from behind a cluster of asteroids. Its body shimmered like molten metal, with tendrils that lashed out unpredictably. The creature collided with the asteroid field, sending rocks hurtling toward the Starfire Hawk. "Lyra, to your station," Adrian shouted. Her hands trembled as she gripped the controls, but she remembered Adrian's lessons. Calm breathing, observation, prediction. She scanned the creature's movement patterns, noting the rhythm in its attacks. "Adrian, I think I see a pattern," she said, pointing to the holographic display. "When it strikes with the left tendril, its right side slows down. If we move through here..." Adrian's eyes widened. "Good observation. Let's try it." Working together, they maneuvered the Starfire Hawk with precision. Lyra guided the ship through the safest paths, dodging falling asteroids and narrowly avoiding the creature's thrashing tendrils. Adrian controlled the ship's weapons, blasting obstacles that blocked their way. Finally, the creature retreated into the darkness, leaving the Starfire Hawk unharmed. "You did it, Lyra," Adrian exclaimed. "You spotted the pattern and saved us." Lyra's cheeks flushed. I did it?" "Yes," Adrian said with a grin. "You did it." That day, Lyra realized something important. Courage and intelligence could overcome physical weakness. Her confidence grew, and she began to embrace the challenges ahead rather than fear them. The next phase of their journey focused on combat training. Adrian introduced Lyra to various energy weapons, teaching her to aim, dodge, and strike with efficiency. At first, she struggled with the recoil, her hands shaking as she fired. Her first attempts were clumsy, missing targets entirely or firing too late. "You're rushing," Adrian corrected gently. "Focus on the target, breathe. Let the weapon flow with your movements, not against them." Lyra nodded and tried again. Slowly, the pattern became natural. She fired at moving targets with accuracy, anticipating their paths before they moved. Each success, no matter how small, strengthened her resolve. Adrian also introduced hand-to-hand combat techniques, adapted from human and alien martial arts. Lyra's small frame was initially a disadvantage against larger training dummies, but Adrian taught her to use leverage, speed, and agility. "Size doesn't matter," he explained. "A small warrior can defeat a larger one if they understand the flow of movement." Lyra practiced tirelessly, rolling, dodging, and striking until her muscles ached. She learned to anticipate her opponent's actions, turning weakness into advantage. By the end of the week, she could disarm dummies twice her size with ease, and her stamina had increased dramatically. In addition to physical training, Adrian emphasized mental strength. They explored complex problem-solving simulations, navigated alien diplomacy exercises, and learned the art of strategy. Lyra discovered that she had a natural gift for understanding patterns, predicting enemy behavior, and making split-second decisions. One evening, as they drifted near a nebula glowing in green and purple light, Adrian presented Lyra with a challenge. "Tomorrow," he said, "we will enter a simulation. You will face multiple opponents in a controlled environment. Remember, it's not just about strength, it's about strategy, observation, and quick thinking." Lyra felt a mix of fear and excitement. I'll do my best." The next day, the simulation began. Holographic enemies surrounded her, moving unpredictably. Lyra felt her heart race, but she recalled Adrian's lessons. She watched, analyzed, and struck with precision. She dodged, countered, and used her environment to her advantage. By the end of the simulation, every opponent was neutralized. Adrian clapped. "Excellent, Lyra. You didn't just survive, you excelled. You are learning faster than I imagined." Lyra's confidence soared. She had not only proven herself capable, but had begun to embrace her identity as a warrior. She understood that strength was more than muscle. It was courage, intelligence, and determination. The journey also took them to alien settlements across uncharted systems. Lyra learned to interact with different species, understanding their cultures, languages, and customs. She quickly realized that diplomacy required as much skill as combat. Her ability to adapt, empathize, and communicate earned her respect wherever they went. In one settlement, they encountered a village threatened by space raiders. Lyra immediately took charge, formulating a plan to defend the village. Using traps, careful positioning, and her knowledge of alien technology, she led the villagers to safety and drove the raiders away. Adrian watched in awe. "You've saved them, Lyra. You didn't just fight, you led," he said. Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of pride she had never experienced before. I think I'm starting to understand what you meant about strength," she admitted. "Yes," Adrian said. "True strength comes from using all the gifts you have, mind, heart, and courage. And you, Lyra, have all of them." Days turned into weeks, and Lyra's abilities grew exponentially. Her body became stronger, her mind sharper, and her spirit more unyielding. She began to notice subtle changes within herself. Her reflexes faster, her perception keener, her confidence radiant. Despite the progress, challenges continued. They navigated through cosmic storms, hostile territories, and encounters with dangerous creatures. Each test pushed Lyra further, teaching her resilience, patience, and the importance of teamwork. One night, as they drifted near a quiet star cluster, Lyra gazed at the stars and reflected on her journey. She remembered the timid, fearful girl she had been, the one who stumbled and doubted herself. Now she was stronger, braver, and wiser. She realized that the human who had taken her under his wing had not just taught her skills. He had helped her discover who she truly was. "Adrian," she said softly, "thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." Adrian smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You always had the potential, Lyra. I just helped you see it. Remember this: strength comes in many forms, and your greatest power is your heart and mind." As the Starfire Hawk continued its journey, Lyra felt a growing sense of purpose. She knew that the path ahead would be filled with even greater challenges, but she was ready. She was no longer a fragile princess. She was a warrior in training, prepared to face the universe with courage, wisdom, and determination. The journey of growth had only just begun, but Lyra's transformation was undeniable. The timid girl entrusted to a human was becoming someone extraordinary, a being whose mind, body, and spirit could one day rival the greatest warriors of the galaxy. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Lyra understood that the adventure ahead would not only test her strength, but also reveal the true power hidden within her, a power she had only begun to awaken. The Starfire Hawk glided silently through a dense sector of the galaxy, its hull reflecting the scattered light of distant stars. Lyra stood at the navigation console, her fingers moving with confidence over controls she had once struggled to understand. She had grown stronger, faster, and more observant, but nothing could have fully prepared her for the challenge that awaited. Adrian's eyes were fixed on the ship's sensors. "We're approaching a region known for entertainment," he said carefully. "It's a place where the strong are tested and the weak sometimes do not survive." Lyra's brow furrowed. "Entertainment?" Adrian nodded. "It's called the Arena of Trials. Many alien civilizations use it to test warriors. The opponents can be dangerous and the challenges unpredictable, but it's the perfect place for you to face a real test." Lyra's heart pounded. She had faced simulations, cosmic storms, and alien predators, but an arena where lives could truly be at risk was entirely different. Yet beneath her fear, determination burned brighter than ever. She had trained for this moment, honed her mind, and strengthened her body. She would not fail. The ship descended through the atmosphere of a massive artificial planet. The surface was a labyrinth of high towers, glowing barriers, and open combat zones. Lyra could see figures moving in the distance, warriors from various species, some massive, others quick and agile, all seemingly unconcerned by danger. Adrian guided the Starfire Hawk to a docking platform. "Stay close," he warned. "This is not a place for hesitation. You must trust your instincts, your training, and yourself." The moment they stepped onto the arena grounds, Lyra felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. Spectators from across the galaxy filled the floating stands, watching every move, waiting to see who would survive. Her stomach tightened, but she squared her shoulders, determined to prove herself. The first round began immediately. A group of hulking alien warriors advanced toward her, each one towering over her small frame. Lyra's first instinct was to panic, but she remembered Adrian's words. Strength comes from mind and heart, not just muscle. She moved quickly, dodging the first warrior's massive swing. Her small size, once a weakness, now allowed her to slip under attacks that larger opponents could not avoid. She used her agility to strike weak points, knees, joints, and energy conduits in their armor, carefully targeting where the strikes would disable rather than kill. The crowd murmured in surprise. The timid princess they had seen entering the arena now moved like a predator, calculating and precise. Each step, each strike reflected her weeks of training with Adrian. After neutralizing the first group, a new challenge appeared, a monstrous creature with scales as hard as diamond and eyes that glowed with fury. Its tail smashed the ground, sending waves of force toward her. Lyra leapt to the side, narrowly avoiding the crushing blow. Adrian's voice echoed in her mind. Observe, predict, use your environment. She glanced around and noticed a series of energy pylons lining the arena. With careful timing, she lured the creature toward them. Using her energy weapon, she struck the pylons, creating a controlled explosion that staggered the beast. It roared in frustration, giving her the chance to move behind it and disable its energy core. The crowd erupted in astonishment. Lyra had not only survived, she had dominated the challenge. The next trial was even more difficult. Holographic projections of warriors appeared, moving unpredictably and striking with incredible speed. Lyra had to think quickly, adapting her strategy in real time. She used feints, traps, and distractions, turning the arena itself into her ally. Every strike was precise, every movement calculated. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Lyra faced wave after wave of opponents, alien gladiators, robotic drones, and genetically enhanced beasts. Exhaustion clawed at her body, but her determination never wavered. She had trained for this. She had grown stronger, and now she was proving it. During a brief pause, Adrian approached. "You're doing exceptionally well," he said. "But the final challenge is coming. Be ready for anything." Lyra nodded, her eyes fixed on the arena floor. She felt no fear now, only focus. She understood that this trial was not just about physical strength. It was about endurance, intelligence, and courage. She had learned to trust herself, and that trust was her greatest weapon. The final round began with a sudden tremor. The arena floor shifted, forming a series of platforms over a pit filled with glowing energy. Lyra's opponents were no longer conventional warriors. They were combined simulations of her previous challenges, faster, stronger, and more unpredictable than ever. She analyzed their movements, recognizing patterns from past encounters. Using her agility, she jumped from platform to platform, striking with precision and avoiding attacks that could have ended her journey. Each step was a test of balance and calculation. One opponent, a massive four-armed alien, lunged at her with incredible speed. Lyra sidestepped, rolling across a platform, and used her weapon to trip it. Another opponent, a robotic drone, fired a series of energy blasts, which she deflected by reflecting the beams against the arena's walls. The crowd's astonishment grew with every move. Whispers spread quickly. This human-trained alien princess was unlike anything they had ever seen. Finally, only the largest simulation remained. A towering figure with energy blades in each hand, moving with precision and strength beyond imagination. Lyra's muscles ached. Her breath came in ragged gasps, but her mind remained clear. She remembered Adrian's lessons. Predict, anticipate, and use the environment. Using the arena's shifting platforms, she lured the figure into a precarious position. With a swift strike, she disabled its energy core, sending it crashing to the ground. Silence fell over the arena, broken only by the sound of her own heartbeat. Then the crowd erupted in cheers, applause, and astonished cries. Lyra stood tall, her small frame glowing with confidence and pride. She had survived the trial not by brute force alone, but by strategy, courage, and determination. Adrian rushed to her side, pride evident in his eyes. "Lyra, you did it. You passed the trial. You're no longer just a student, you are a warrior." Lyra's cheeks flushed, but she smiled. I never thought I could do it, but I did." "Yes," Adrian said, "and now you know your true power. Strength is not just muscle or size. It is mind, heart, courage, and perseverance. You have all of these, Lyra. You are extraordinary." For the first time, Lyra felt fully confident in herself. She had faced challenges that would have terrified her before, and she had overcome them. She understood that the path ahead would be even more dangerous, but she was ready. That night, as the arena lights dimmed and the spectators departed, Lyra reflected on her journey. She remembered the timid girl who had boarded the Starfire Hawk weeks ago, unsure and afraid. That girl seemed like a distant memory. Now she was a warrior, capable of facing dangers that once seemed impossible. Adrian sat beside her, looking out at the city below. "You've grown so much, Lyra. But remember, this is only the beginning. There will be other trials, other challenges, and greater dangers ahead, but I have no doubt you can face them." Lyra nodded. "I understand. I am ready to face whatever comes next." As the Starfire Hawk prepared to leave the arena planet, Lyra felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. She had discovered a new side of herself, one that combined courage, intelligence, and skill. She was no longer a weak princess. She was a warrior who had faced fire and emerged stronger, wiser, and unbroken. The galaxy stretched endlessly before her, filled with unknown challenges and adventures. Lyra knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that she had the power to meet it. Every trial, every obstacle, every enemy was an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to prove herself further. And so, with determination in her heart and strength in her mind, Lyra prepared for the next chapter of her journey. The timid girl entrusted to a human had passed her first true trial, and she would not stop here. The universe was vast, and her story was only beginning. The Starfire Hawk sailed silently through the vastness of space, carrying Lyra and Adrian back to Zephyra, the planet she had once feared would never accept her. Lyra's heart beat with a mix of anticipation and unease. She had grown so much, trained and tested beyond anything she had imagined. But would her father recognize the warrior she had become? Adrian noticed her silence. "It's normal to feel nervous," he said. "Your father expects strength."
He expects perfection.
"But remember, you've learned what true strength means. You're ready?" Lyra nodded, gripping the railing of the ship. The floating cities of Zephyra shimmered below, their towers reflecting the light of the twin suns. She remembered the timid girl who had left weeks ago, full of fear and self-doubt. Now she felt powerful, confident, and capable. Upon landing, they were greeted with cautious stares. Advisors, guards, and citizens whispered among themselves. Lyra could feel their surprise and curiosity. The once weak princess was returning, and the air was thick with tension. King Therion awaited them in the grand palace, his expression unreadable. The hall, lined with gleaming crystal walls, was silent except for the soft hum of energy lights. Lyra stepped forward, standing tall despite the memories of her past insecurities. "Lyra," Therion said, his voice deep and commanding. "You have returned. I did not expect this." Lyra met her father's gaze. "Father, I have learned, I have trained, and I have faced challenges. I am no longer the child you thought I was. I am ready to prove my strength and help protect Zephyra." The king studied her for a long moment. He had seen many warriors, many battles, but something in Lyra's eyes made him pause. There was courage, intelligence, and determination, all shining brighter than any weapon he had ever seen. Before he could respond, a warning alarm rang through the palace. Advisors rushed in, reporting a brewing rebellion. Enemies of the throne had taken advantage of the king's perceived weakness, his daughter, and were plotting to overthrow him. Lyra's heart tightened, but she did not hesitate. "I can help," she said firmly. "I know strategy, I know combat, and I know how to protect the innocent. Let me face this threat." Therion's eyes narrowed, a mixture of surprise and concern. "Very well, Lyra, but know this, the stakes are high. Failure is not an option." Lyra nodded. She gathered a small team of loyal soldiers and advisors, including Adrian. Together they moved to the palace defenses, preparing for the incoming threat. The rebellion struck at night. Swift, silent, and merciless, the insurgents attempted to breach the palace gates. Lyra led her team with precision, using both strategy and agility. She anticipated enemy movements, directed defenses, and personally neutralized several attackers. Adrian fought beside her, impressed by her command. "Lyra, your training is incredible. You've grown beyond anything I could have imagined." Lyra smiled briefly, her focus never wavering. "It's not just training. It's understanding, strategy, and courage. That is what makes a warrior. The palace battle intensified. Rebellion forces pushed toward the throne room, but Lyra's planning and leadership kept them at bay. She used barriers, traps, and controlled strikes to minimize casualties while maximizing effectiveness. Finally, the rebellion's leader, a tall, armored alien named Varkon, charged at Lyra with a massive weapon. She stood her ground, analyzing his movements. Using agility and precision, she dodged his attacks and disarmed him, turning the weapon against him to immobilize him. The palace guards quickly subdued the remaining rebels. Silence fell over the hall once more. Therion approached Lyra, his expression softened. You have done more than I imagined possible," he said. "You are no longer the weak daughter I feared. You are a warrior, wise and courageous. You have saved Zephyra, and in doing so, you have earned my respect and admiration." Lyra's heart swelled. "Thank you, Father. I only wish to protect our people and prove that strength comes in many forms." Therion nodded solemnly. "Indeed it does, and you have shown it to all of us." In the days that followed, Lyra worked with her father to rebuild trust, strengthen defenses, and ensure the stability of Zephyra. Her leadership skills, once untested, became invaluable. The citizens who had doubted her now looked upon her with respect and admiration. Adrian stood by her side, proud of her growth. "You've done it, Lyra. You've become everything you were meant to be and more." Lyra smiled, looking out over the city. She had faced fear, danger, and doubt, and had emerged victorious. The timid princess had transformed into a powerful warrior, ready for whatever the universe would throw at her next. Months passed, and Zephyra entered a period of peace. Lyra's accomplishments became known across the galaxy, earning her admiration and respect from humans, Zephyrians, and other civilizations alike. She had grown into a leader, a strategist, and a protector, not just of her people but of the weak and vulnerable throughout space. Lyra and Adrian continued their partnership, traveling to distant worlds, resolving conflicts, and teaching others what they had learned. Their bond had deepened, built on trust, respect, and shared adventures. Lyra's name became legendary, a symbol of courage, intelligence, and perseverance. One day, while exploring a newly discovered star system, Lyra received a communication from her father. "Lyra," Therion said, his voice filled with pride, "I have watched your deeds across the galaxy. You have not only protected Zephyra, but you have inspired countless others. Your journey has changed the way I see strength, courage, and leadership." Lyra smiled, her heart full. "Thank you, Father. I could not have done it without your guidance and the lessons you taught me. And of course, Adrian's training." Therion chuckled softly. "Indeed, you have surpassed all expectations. You are a warrior, a leader, and a symbol of hope for all. Remember this, Lyra, the universe will always challenge you, but your courage and heart will guide you through any storm." As Lyra and Adrian continued their travels, they encountered countless new challenges, alien conflicts, natural disasters, and political disputes, but Lyra faced them all with skill, wisdom, and courage. She had learned that leadership was not about dominating others but about guiding, protecting, and inspiring. In one mission, they aided a planet threatened by a massive asteroid. Lyra devised a plan, combining strategy, teamwork, and her knowledge of alien technology, to redirect the asteroid safely away from the planet. The inhabitants hailed her as a hero, and Lyra realized that her strength was not just in combat, but in problem-solving, creativity, and courage. Another mission involved negotiating peace between two warring alien species. Lyra's empathy, understanding, and ability to see the perspectives of others allowed her to broker a truce. Her reputation as both a warrior and a diplomat spread, proving that her strength was multidimensional. Throughout her journeys, Lyra never forgot her beginnings, the timid princess who had doubted herself. She often reflected on how far she had come and how much she had learned from Adrian, her father, and her own experiences. Adrian, ever her companion, watched with pride. "Lyra," he said one evening as they looked out at a galaxy filled with stars, "you've become more than I ever imagined. You are not just a warrior, you are a leader, a hero, and a symbol of hope." Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "I have learned that strength is not about being the strongest physically. It's about heart, mind, and courage. It's about believing in yourself even when others doubt you." Together, Lyra and Adrian continued their travels. helping civilizations in need, protecting the weak, and facing dangers that would challenge even the bravest warriors. Lyra's story became a legend, inspiring countless others across the galaxy to believe in their own potential. Back on Zephyra, King Therion watched with pride as his daughter's deeds echoed through the stars. He had given her to a human, hoping she would find her strength, and she had surpassed all expectations. She had become a warrior, a protector, and a symbol of hope for the galaxy. And as Lyra stood on the bridge of the Starfire Hawk, looking out into the infinite expanse of space, she knew that her journey was only beginning. The universe was vast, filled with unknown challenges and adventures, but she was ready. She was no longer the weak princess of Zephyra. She was a powerful warrior whose courage, intelligence, and heart could light the darkest corners of the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly before her, promising new adventures, new challenges, and new opportunities to inspire. Lyra smiled, gripping the controls of the ship. She was ready to face the universe, and nothing could stop her. Her journey from timid princess to legendary warrior had proven one truth above all. Strength comes in many forms, and even the smallest spark can ignite a blazing fire that changes the galaxy.